Get the coolest mesh online at mesh.alfred.vip.
The genocide against Christians in Nigeria took an egregious turn for the worse this weekend. So Truth Nigeria's Mike Ode James joins us now. Mike, what is happening on the ground?
Well, what's happening today? A few days ago, on the 14th of this month, down, 14th, 13th, down, is a kind of massacre. The state government says 59 persons were killed in Benue State in a village called Yelawata, that is in Benue State. And Benue is a Christian-dominated state. We are about 6 to 7 million Nigerians living in Benue.
And this is something that the Nigerian media doesn't focus on. And they'll rather play it off. This is a genocide primarily against Christians. They are targeting places that are dominated by Christians, places that have churches, places that have pastors, places that have Catholic churches and Catholic priests. And to all those who are complaining that why are the pastors and the general overseers in Nigerian churches not speaking out, they are, and they have been speaking out ever since the 90s. This is not new. They have spoken out to the point that it has become too repetitious. They have made everybody used to it. Since the 90s, 1992, 1993, 1994, 1995, till today, the killings, ever since Boko Haram, this is something that started before Boko Haram, but ever since Boko Haram started, that is when it started becoming looked upon internationally, and they bring back our girls campaign of that time. That is when people started looking at it, but it never stopped. They have always been killing Christians, and now do we have it has become obvious, the monetary aspect of it, because the land of all these Christians is taken, and now we are getting to learn that those lands in the north that we thought were just dry, some of those places, they have gold that have never been mined. They even have oil. There are people who think that there's no oil in the north. There is oil, but it has never been, they have never started, appropriating it. They have not yet started, taking from it. It's not like the wells in Niger Delta. Nigeria is a place that is, I think, the third largest oil producer, but it's only from the oil from the south. There's oil in different parts. There's oil in Niger Delta. Majority of the oil is from the Niger Delta, but there's oil in, the Igbo land also, on the, the Imo State and all those other places. There's oil even in Lagos, and there's even oil in the north. Those ones, they have not even touched those wells. But there's also gold. We are just finding that out. So all these people that you see in most of all these pictures of Africa, where the people are hungry, and you have children starving, underneath their soil is natural resources that the government knows is there. That certain globalists in foreign government know that those resources are there. The cobalt that is used for, everybody saying solar. Everybody is moving to solar. Even Tesla that is using solar batteries. The battery that is used in a Tesla is made from cobalt. There's cobalt in the north. So all this killing of Christians and killing of people, and people running away from their homes, they are also running away from billions. Because the person who will claim all this land, because there is land names are being changed. So who are the new owners of all this land? These are people that have lived all their life in poverty. But underneath them, they do not know that there are resources that the world needs. They own the land. So they are living in poverty while owning land that has gold under it, that has cobalt under it, that has rich in all kinds of natural resources. They themselves, they are surviving from farming, and it's old school farming of one man, hoe and cutlass farming. But the land is rich. The people are not educated enough and told the truth. And the things are not done properly, so that all these things are explored, all these resources. But there's a great vast pool of resources in the north. that has not even been tapped. So who are the new owners of this land? And that is also the motive why these killings are not going to stop. Because there's so much, millions upon billions. If the oil only in Niger Delta is able to make Nigeria the third largest oil producing nation, then when you mix that with, by the time they start exploring the oil in the north and in other parts of Nigeria, Nigeria will be obviously number one. That is more oil than Saudi Arabia. Nigeria has more resources and more diversity of resources than Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is not only oil. Nigeria has gold, diamonds, cocoa, granules, all kinds of things, palm trees, so many different things. A whole assortment of different natural resources, not just oil. It's in Nigeria. So all this killing is strategic. Who now owns all the land that all these resources is under? That is billions upon billions for their descendants and for their future generations. There's so much to be said about this, and that is why the politicians are keeping quiet, because they are benefactors. The primary people that are doing this, like for example, you've heard about Emefiele. Emefiele, who was the CBN governor, that they found out that he had, how much land, and how many houses, and I believe this guy also had a hangar, a mini airport in his backyard. The former CBN governor that was disgraced. And people are like, oh, it's good that they have retrieved this, and now it's going to go to the people. We are not even going to talk about how they plan to give it to the people, because that is a different thing. You know that Nigeria is a homeland of mismanagement. But let's talk about the fact that other governors stole also. What about what they have stolen? There are many governors, many CBN governors, who are in charge of the Central Bank of Nigeria. They also stole, and they have long left. They and their children are in the UK. Their money is in different bank accounts. Keep in mind that there are special bank accounts in this world that are sovereign. In other words, no government has the right to ask or inquire how much do you have, how much do people have in this bank, and what are their names, and how did they get the money there. They have sovereignty like a nation. There are such banks that have that kind of sovereignty. So if you steal money and carry your money there, it is there. It is safe and secure. And certain politicians know all these different ways of channeling money. So the people that are caught money laundering are actually small scale people. But really big and connected politicians are never caught money laundering, because they write the laws. There are people who say silly things like nobody's above the law. Nonsense. It's not a human being that wrote the law. The law they are talking about, they are saying nobody's above the law. It's not a human being that used pen and paper to write the law. It's that person who wrote it subject to the law that they wrote. And by the way, when people are in Senate, what do? It's not editing laws. It's not changing laws that they do. So when we can see that the law is written by men and the law can be changed by men, how can you say that nobody is above the law? You are deceiving yourself. So some people are clearly above the law. So that is a fact. And we need to talk about all this criminality. And these things are, are aiding and abetting. When it comes to the Islamization of Nigeria, there is a push for radical Islamists to take over Nigeria. And nobody wants to talk about that. Nobody wants to address that. I saw, rather they will, in this tragedy, they will insult Christians, starting with the pastors. That why are pastors not talking? I've said it. Pastors have been talking since the 90s. And they have talked until they have become repetitious and kept quiet, because they have been killing people. It is you that have been silenced. They have been killing Christians since. They have been kidnapping Christians since. And it's the pastors that have been paying ransom. most of the churches have left the north because the pastors cannot afford all the ransom. Today they are in church, they say, this member has been kidnapped, bring 2 million. The church scrambles and gets 2 million. Do you think it is the government that is paying all these 2 million, 3 million, and all of this? It's churches that are paying. When these people come out, do you think that it is the police that is getting all these people that are kidnapped back? No, these people are paying ransom. That is why the kidnapping business is prospering and booming in Nigeria. And it's from the churches they gather, this person that is always a faithful member of our church, that is always praying, has been kidnapped. The church comes, gathers together money. Or, they kidnap the priest. How many times have the priests been kidnapped? It's not the money from the church that they will come and pay. So what do you mean that the pastors and the preachers don't care? They are the number one victims. And they have talked and talked and talked. It's you that doesn't listen. Now you are saying that they are keeping quiet. They have been talking ever since. All the while you have been going about your life like if nothing happened. All through the while that you have been, everything have happened, COVID, this, that, all that. They have always been kidnapping Christians and killing Christians. Even this thing now, how many of you will forget about it when this dies over? That has happened in Benue. 200 people killed. Give it 2 weeks, 3 weeks, other news will come and everybody forget about it. But the pastors still have to deal with this. It is the members of their congregation. It's not them that are organizing the funeral. And these are people that have been killed. So it's not like they are making money from the funeral. So if your mind wants to go in that direction, they are not making money because they are people that it's only an orphan left. Or the entire family wiped out. So no orphan, no relative. Everybody has run. So they will now have to, the churches now gather and start burying all these bodies. And then you want to say that the churches do not care. The churches are the victims. And are these not Christians? Then people like Dangote will open his mouth and say, there are Muslims that are also killed. No, look at the reality. They are killing Christians, and then the Muslims that are peaceful, the Muslims that are friends with Christians and live in Christian communities. If you're a Muslim that live in a Christian community, a majority Christian community, you are at risk. And if you socialize with them and all of that, because that's the thing. The fact that someone is Hausa or Fulani does not mean that they are going to be Muslim. Many of them convert to Christianity, and that is another beginning of another problem. Because under their Islamic law, if you convert, you should be killed. So that justifies it in their mind. And these are people, they run around, they scream Allahu Akbar, and then they are killing. So the killing of Christians, has been going on in Nigeria, and the government does not. This is recently, Trump was complaining about it, to Tinubu, and Tinubu was there sending letters saying that no, that it is conflict header farmer crisis, that no, that Christians are not being killed, blah blah blah. But the whole world sees that Christians are being killed. But Tinubu, being as evil as he is, he will not. And they are always giving them amnesty and forgiving them. When they catch the terrorists, they will forgive them. But yet, Nnamdi Kanu is in prison because he is Igbo. Who did Nnamdi Kanu kill? Why is he in prison? But they will make deals with the terrorists that are killing Christians left and right. When they catch them, they will make deals with them and put them in rehabilitation program. And then the government will be giving them salary, bribing them not to go back to killing. When they get tired, they will go back to the killing. Because the money that they are getting from the kidnapping is far more.
And over 97% of them are Christians. They are Baptists, they are Methodists, they are Catholics. And then we have local churches called MKST, Hokin, and EPWA. But about a week ago, on Saturday, Fulani extremists, terrorists, stormed into Yelawata and then slaughtered a whole lot of people. Not just slaughtering, not just macheting. They locked some people up the way the Hamas locked Israelis up, 2 years or 1 year ago, and then doused the houses with gasoline and then set them ablaze. Babies were burnt. And then some of them that were...
And see the link with them using the same methods that Hamas used. They are using the exact same method that Hamas used, a terrorist organization. Keep in mind that Nigeria, the northern Nigeria, they have also the same ones who hosted recently, a known ISIS terrorist. They welcomed him with open arms and hosted him. I was listening to what he had to say, and he joined in the protest against Israel. With in league with certain Muslims in the north. Now we have this situation where what they are doing in Benue is the same situation, is the same tactics that was used by Hamas. And there has always been said about the training and the weapons that these terrorists are getting. Not only should we not ignore the fact that these weapons cannot be moved without government knowing what is happening. There's no way that customs is not seeing all these weapons being moved. So how is someone smuggling all these weapons? The weapons that they have in most cases is more advanced than what the military has. So where does the funding come from? And recently, the Trump administration exposed that USAID is actually providing funding. And then we had crazy evil people like Rafael Hosseini of Arrives News saying that it's a lie. He's telling America, he's telling the people that are funded, because it is Trump administration and Elon Musk that said it is automatically a lie. They brought out that a lot of this money from USAID is used to fund terrorism in Africa. So all this money, and of course their goals, because the reality of the matter is that Nigeria Nigeria does not belong to Nigerians. And when you do your research on the Nigerian constitution, you will see that even the language being used, the so-called independence was not independence. We are still owned by foreign powers. The nation is still owned by foreign powers.
About running were gunned down, and some also were cut from behind with machete. The government says 59 persons were killed, but the people on ground said over 100 were killed. Amnesty International so will list that, and the Pope himself said close to 200. So it doesn't really matter the figure. But what actually matters is this.
And notice how the Nigerian government is trying to belittle it. Other people are giving, the people themselves on ground are saying that it's over 100. We have other people that are saying that it's close to 200. Even the Pope said it was close to 200 people. But the Nigerian government is saying that it's just 50. Look at how they are minimizing it. The Nigerian politicians, that is just, around 50 people. You see that? Because it shows you how compliant, this cannot happen without the Nigerian government involved. It was Abacha that once said, Abacha, as evil as he was, he said that any insurgency that happens anywhere that lasts more than 24 hours, the government has a hand in it. And that is a fact. There is no way, we see all these killings where they will kill from morning to night, or from it starts in the night till the next morning or the next afternoon. There is no police, no military shows up. It is after it has finished. The same way you cannot see Superman and Clark Kent at the same place at the same time. It is when the terrorists have gone that the military will now show up. They can never meet at the same time when there is an active insurgency. Then they will always be giving us reports. Oh, you will see in newspaper or news, no evidence. Oh, they have killed these terrorists. Oh, they have killed 200 terrorists. Oh, at the same time, we are seeing reports and videos of the terrorists that they are forgiven. The whole thing is ridiculous. The enemy of Nigeria is the Nigerian government.
Have been slaughtered in gruesome manner in Nigeria's middle belt, where Christians predominate, and unfortunately, nothing is happening.
That's my question, Mike. I've talked to you on several of these videos. I've talked to some of your,
and of course, the left in America. For all of you who wonder why Christians are most people in Africa, quite a number of people in Africa support Trump. You see, the left, because of their pro-homosexuality and all of that, the left is just so anti-Christianity. The white man has to be the villain. The white man has to be evil. Men has to be the oppressor. Women have to be the victim. They have, the LGBT have to be the victim, and Christianity has to be the villain. So they have already picked who is right or wrong, and Christianity has to always be wrong. So telling news or showing news about Christian persecution now shows Christianity as a victim, which goes against their whole thing. Their whole thing is Christianity, the oppressor. Christianity is to blame. And that's why even when you see Nigerian media, when it covers these things, it ignores the fact that these people are over 90% Christians that are being killed. And the people that are doing the killing are Muslims and are saying Allahu Akbar when killing. They ignore all of that. It's, we don't want to bring religious, or we don't want to contribute to religious problems and all of that. Even the politicians, when they are talking, they are angry with the protesting. The protesting, that when they talk about bringing peace to Benue, they are talking about calming the protests, stopping the people from protesting. That is what they mean by bringing peace to Benue. So they are not even interested in security. Keep in mind, I've said it before, if someone wants to have an insurgency, if someone wants to do a raid on Aso Rock, how successful is it going to be right now? It's not going to go anywhere, because they have security in Aso Rock. The politicians have security. But if there's a raid in one small village somewhere in the north, anywhere else in Nigeria, what is there to stop them? People are banned from having guns. People are banned from protecting themselves. People are banned from having any form of self-defense. Then there's no military, there's no police, there's no nothing. So if 200 people just come with guns and just start killing people in a village or anywhere in Nigeria, what is there to stop them? There's nothing there to stop them. That is lack of security. The government shouldn't wait for the problem to arise, and then they now show to do what? To be looking to send the military to attend to washing over the dead bodies of the people that have been killed. Before there is even a problem, there should be security. So that if any village or any place, if 200 or 300 or 1,000 people can come into any place and just start killing, there's a problem. If New York, for example, if 200 people were to move into a building and start killing, you will see the immediate response by the police, and if the police can handle it, the National Guard or the military, all these people are sent in. There's SWAT and all that things. They send them in immediately. The system is already there. But in Nigeria, you wait, the government waits, the killing happens first. Then it now says, we must really stop this injustice. Then they have the nerve to call people who now say, we should pray. No. We have to be wise. If you hire somebody to be your security man, the person needs to be your security man. It's not a matter of prayer. The person does a bad job as security, further, the government is the security. The government should provide the security. And it's their job to make sure that the people are secure. And this thing happening, can still happen in any other place, like I've explained. There's nothing stopping any other raid from being successful in any other part of Nigeria that is not occupied by super wealthy politicians. It's only super wealthy politicians that have a network of protection. Let's say somebody wanted to have a raid on the house of any of the big Nigerian politicians. How is it going to work? There's already military there. Is there any insurgency? No. There's no problem, but there's already military present. There's already protection and all kinds of measures around it right now. That is the way it should be for the people, for the villages, for the farmers. There are a lot of people that have run away from farming communities where their only livelihood is farming. So many people have been displaced. Life is worse now than it was under colonization. It's sad.
colleagues, Lawrence and Masara, we've had, a lot of these videos about Nigeria, and the world stays silent. It's almost like this doesn't.
Because the world stays silent because they are owned by the same people. The World Economic Forum, the globalists, they own the same thing. This is the same thing with Trump. As they have made up their mind, they will lie about Trump and they will not cover certain things. And this is why I'm astonished as Trump. Like, till now, Trump have not bothered to have his own news network or people on the Trump aspect, because they're not going to cover a lot of things. You can paint the media can make a saint look like a demon and a demon look like a saint, and that is what they are going to do, to paint their own picture and put their own rhetoric out there. The news media, even the Nigerian mainstream media, why do you think Raphael Seni was so adamant to be anti-Trump, even though he's in Nigeria? What business do Nigerians have with the U.S. election? Are we allowed to vote for the U.S. election from Nigeria? So why is he pushing it? But the thing is that these people, when you understand and do your research on the ownership of these companies, you see companies like Time Warner, you will see that a lot of all these companies are owned by the same people and funded by the same people, and they have their agenda. Look at, you've heard things like 99% of the world's wealth is owned by 1% of the people. Well, those 1% of the people owning through companies and corporations and banks. Now, when those banks have principles or beliefs that they want to push, that is what all the people that want to prosper, that do business with them, we have to push. That is what all the companies that are the 99% of the companies of the world, which they own and control, are going to push. Why do you think LGBT is so successful? Because of the ownership of the business. This is why I talk about the 7 mountains and beyond. And I talk about Christians owning the business world and Christians being in business and having wealth. Because those who have wealth have their own agenda. Many of them are satanic. Many of them are globalists. Many of them are eugenicists. These are people that don't mind people dying just so that they can put a vaccine in people. So that is what is going to be happening. The world is shaped by what we want it to be. And the more power you have, the more your influence and your say is in shaping the world. So when we let the devils and the people, the children of Satan, be the billionaires and be the 1% that owns the 99% of the world's resources and companies and all of that and the world's assets, that is what they will shape the world after. They will shape the world after their father Satan. They will use it to do evil. So it is no surprise the news media is owned by the same people. The same globalists own the news media of different countries. CNN, the people that own CNN, it is not only the CNN America. They own a network. Look at BBC. Is there not BBC Pigeon? Is there not BBC Nigeria, BBC South Africa, BBC Philippines, BBC in different other countries? And they don't even have to name it after themselves. Most of all the companies that we see that have names that are named locally, like they will have a name like Nigerian this or South African this. Look at the history. They used to be either part of one UK company or one American company or something. That later changed their name. They changed their name, but the ownership remained. And so it's the vision from the top that is passed down. And to be truthful with you, how do you think Christianity spread? At one time, the most powerful people sought that the world would be better if there was Christian ideology everywhere. The King James Version of the Bible is actually named after King James. King James was a king, a UK king, a king of, he was a king of England, one of the kings of England. He was a real person. The King James Version of the Bible, that is actually King James. There was actually a King James who was the king of England at the time that Bible was published. It was named after him in his honor. And he's the one that said push the King James Bible, and he used his money to push the King James Bible into anywhere he colonized. And that's how we have the King James Bible. And one of the reasons why it's put, of course, there are a lot of movements and revivals that God has done to make Christianity spread, but we cannot ignore the reality of politics and Christianity. You can use politics to close the door to religion and open the doors to religions and belief systems. And that is the reality. So keep that in mind. It's very important for us to take over the 7 months and beyond. We have to have politics, we have to have money, business, all and all this, and when you, wherever you are, just like Esther, who was in, the palace, understand that you are there for a greater purpose. You are not just there for yourself so that you enjoy life. If you're a doctor, be a doctor with a difference. If you are a university professor, be a university professor with a difference. There has to be a gospel aspect, a kingdom aspect to what you are doing. There has to be an aspect of pushing the gospel in what you are doing. Look at how the secular people took over the educational field. Secular professors, atheist professors. Education used to be Christian in the sense that all the early inventors were Christians. All of them. There were people that believed they were either Christian, Jewish, or something. You could not separate it. But now, even when you look at the schools, they were all named after either Mary or one of the apostles, St. Mary's School or St. Mary's High School or this university, it's always named after something Christian. Harvard was a missionary school. Harvard was created with the purpose of training people to go out and preach the gospel. That's Harvard University. So, education was once Christian, but with a clever insetting of secular people. Now we have a situation where people think that the more educated you are, the more you surely cannot believe in the Bible. That is uneducated to believe in the Bible. That is fairy tales. The Bible is fairy tale. The Bible is fictional. The Bible is not for the educated. The Bible is not for the sophisticated. This is crazy. They don't even understand. Even chemistry, the word chemistry is from alchemy. Alchemy was what was practiced by the druids, the wizards, the witches. So it was actually those, they mix witchcraft and science and astronomy. Keep in mind, like when you look at the birth of Jesus, there were wise men who came and who figured out a king was born. How did they know? They read the stars. That is astrology. That is not Christianity. That's astrology. Those were the kinds of things that were where science has its roots from. It was mix of all this astrology, druid stuff, all this witchcraft, stargazing, and all this supernatural stuff. It was mix of supernatural with science and facts and all of that. So all of it was mixed together. That is how it came. All this making potions and all of that. So the supernatural is a heavy foundation of science. Science came from the belief and from supernatural people and from priests. A lot of the early scientists were priests of different belief systems. When Apostle Paul went somewhere and he saw a statue that was dedicated to, a plaque that was dedicated to the unknown God, where was that? Those were thinkers, philosophers, scientists. They are open to thought and reason. Let's hear your ideas about this, your own God. Those are the people that were the scientific community. That is where it came from. These were priests. These were people who loved, education and learning. All kinds of things. Supernatural things and all sorts of things. So that is where it had a root. But now they have put it that science does not does not recognize the supernatural in any way, shape, or form. But that's where it came from. And how did it get to this place? Because of the infusion of atheists into the schooling system, into the professor system. So they start changing the books, they start changing the writings. You have to be an atheist. Oh, Christianity is invalid. Oh, Christianity is not allowed. Oh, this other thing is not allowed. That's the power of all these things. So if Christians start taking over all these positions of authority and all these positions of power, and putting themselves in all these things, and not just being there, you be there with a difference, be there with, know that you're on a mission. You do so, you will change things. Look at the you can look at lips of TikTok and all the videos that have been revealed of school teachers who are LGBTQ and are proudly telling their children and teaching the children of people that come to send their kids to school. Teaching primary school and nursery school students about LGBT and about gay this and gay that. They are there with a mission to push their LGBT agenda. But you that is a Christian that have a God-given vision and mission, you are hesitant, you are ashamed, you don't feel that it's your responsibility to be a teacher with a different, a doctor with a different, a professional with a kingdom mission. It's sad.
Register in the world's conscience. Why do you think the world and the media, for the most part, completely ignore this story?
Well, Raj, I got to thank you, Christian Broadcasting Network, and you particularly, Raj. And I have to thank Equipping the Persecuted for coming to bring these killings to light. And I also have to thank Pope for also mentioning our names. And I will tell you why these killings don't really come to light in Nigeria. If you go to the northwest, that is in Borno, Yobe, and Adamawa, the epicenter of Boko Haram, almost Nigerian soldiers, I don't know, but I estimate over 90% of Nigerian armed forces are over there in Borno, and they are killing the terrorists, the Islamic jihadists. They are killing them. If you go to the northwest, we also see Fulani terrorists being decimated by the Nigerian army. But in the Middle Belt, we don't see that. The media doesn't report that much. We don't see the killings. And if you ask, it is like, that is why we say it's a genocide. The government just simply wants us to go. They don't want to have anything to do with us. It's like we are a sore thumb to them. You know, I once told you that in northern Nigeria, in northern Nigeria, we have over 45 million Christians in northern Nigeria. And when you talk about the total population of northern Nigeria, it's just about 110 million. So now we have over 45 million Nigerians who are Christians in northern Nigeria, including people like me. We have about 6 million in southern Kaduna. We have them in Taraba. We have them in Nasarawa. We have them in Plateau. And these are the epicenter where the killings happened. Now, the government do not report this, do not want, I don't know, the previous government that's under Muhammad Buhari, who is a Fulani man, passed the killings as herders farmers clash. So, but when we define it as no, this is genocidal killing, and it's prompted by land grabbing, they get angry. So, and they started suppressing the press from carrying out the reportage of these killings. They don't want the press to carry it out. Unfortunately, a new president has come and he has liberalized the space. And that is why you can see, to a certain extent, the media are carrying it half-heartedly. If it were under the former president, it would not happen.
You know, everyone obviously is made in the image of God, and every death we mourn around the world. But this isn't, a war between, say, Ukraine and Russia. This is indiscriminate, bombings that, casualties happening in civilian areas. I was talking to Lawrence, one of your colleagues, and there was a technical issue with the video, unfortunately. But he did this story about how they murdered a 9-month-old baby, and he sent me photos. Obviously, we can't show them here. Maybe we can show them blurred out, of this 9-month-old baby who was executed. Not, shrapnel hit that person because they were in a war zone. Like executed.
Yeah.
And it seems like this isn't, a war where civilians get hurt. This seems like a very intentional, very purposed eradication and genocide and slaughter of specifically Christians in Nigeria. Does that sound accurate?
Very, very accurate. Very accurate, Raj. You see, these people are doing it with impunity. They come, they are maybe about 40 bikes, 20 bikes, and each bike having 3 riders. And some of them have AK-49, and some of them have machete. And when they come, you know what they do? they slaughter, they machete, they slash these people on purpose, just the way Hamas did to some Israelis the other time around. And you know why they keep on doing that? They are not being challenged. I have never seen a picture or a video showing that the Nigerian military gunned down these terrorists. I've not seen that. You understand? And I've not seen where they say, okay, we have arrested 20 terrorists, we have taken them to court to be prosecuted. So they know that, look, they are emboldened.
That is fact. They are not taken to court to be prosecuted. If they are caught, they are forgiven and given amnesty and given they become repentant militants. They put on that program. After that, they return to the mosque. When they get tired of the allowance that the government is giving them, and they are like, there was more money on the other side, they go back to kidnapping and terrorism.
By the fact that the state is not protecting us. The leftover of Buhari administration is what is happening. We are being massacred. We are being murdered. We are being killed, and the world is not talking about it. And that is why I started by thanking CBN, by thanking equipping the persecuted. And
so, with all this evidence against Buhari, and with Buhari obviously silencing all of this, and how many people have been killed, during Buhari's term, shouldn't Buhari be brought to courts, and made to face justice? But that's another thing. Nigeria is so tribalistic. It's something else. Nigeria is so tribalistic, it might actually be best to just divide Nigeria by tribe. It's ridiculous, but we'll see how things go. That is a completely different topic for another day. Let's focus on this one first.
And also by thanking the Pope. This is the first time in over 8 years that newspapers, foreign media will come and start saying such things. Start exposing this case.
And that's the influence of Trump. Under the Biden administration, this is not happening. And leftist media is still as quiet as can be. I'm trying to quench, you are not going to see this on CNN, MSNBC and all of that. They are not, so far, nothing. Because they have to maintain that image of Christians Christianity is the persecutors, and then the LGBT are the victims, and they themselves and whatever they are mixing with themselves is the victims,
These people have been deliberate. They
are using the status of victimhood to grant themselves immunity to actually be oppressors.
They even post it on social media. They'll say, yeah, we know this is your land, but we are going to take it from you.
Well, Mike, we are going to be praying for you, and God bless you, and God bless the important work you're doing. We're praying for your safety. We're praying for the Christian church in Nigeria.
Remember what I said about the land, and the resources on the land. In any case, let's say prayer for Nigeria. In Jesus' name. O Lord Father, we pray, Lord Father, that in the mighty name of Jesus, O Lord, pray, Lord Father, that your will be done. I pray, Lord Father, that you have all the wisdom. Pray, Lord Father, you will show us what to do, and when to do what to do, and how to do what to do, and we will take the right steps and right actions, and all will be well in Jesus' name. I pray, Lord Father, for the relatives of those who were lost. We pray, Lord Father, for those who died for the name of Christ. We pray, Lord Father, as they have the died martyrs. I pray, Lord Father, that they will be united with you in heaven. I pray, Lord Father, that your grace, your power shall continue to abide and shall go stronger. The gospel is not going to be deterred. The gospel is only going to go stronger and advance even more and more in Jesus' name. Amen. Thanks for joining me with that prayer. Remember, action is extremely important, so we must pray for guidance and take action. It's important. Prayer goes hand in hand with action. So faith without works is dead. We must mix the two. both pray and act, and do all that we can, I'm about to check out Alfred.vip for more. God bless you. Say this prayer audibly if you've not given your heart to Jesus Christ. Dear God, I believe in my heart that Jesus Christ, the Son of God, came, died, and was raised from the dead to save me. I confess Him, Lord, over my life and ask you to give me your Holy Spirit to live within me. I receive your Spirit by faith and thank you for I am now born again. In Jesus' name, amen. If you just prayed that prayer, congratulations, you're now a Christian. Go to alfred.vip and get resources that will help you with your work with God.